When we are younger, our parents are our gods. We don't know anything above them. Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Goddesses channel. I haven't made a video in a while. Every YouTuber says that. But it feels good to be back, and I'm gonna be making another spirit philosophy video today. If this is the first time you're checking me out, please be sure to like this video if you like it, if you vibe with it, and please do subscribe if you like my content and check out my other videos. So in quarantine, I feel like people have been triggered into how it feels to attach to the people that they love, and problems arise, and we just go through our hardest traumas, like our inner traumas. We have to face them when we constantly see the people that we thought we loved. We do love them, but it's been a challenge. So I took this time to really study the attachment styles in psychology. It's called attachment theory. And as I was reading about it and watching videos, I really recognized that this has something to do with our connection to spirit. But also at the same time, like, it made a lot of sense. Of course we would have this connection to spirit in these ways. So let me explain this to you. Basically, attachment theory in psychology says that there are different ways that we attach to the people that we love, and therefore treat them in a certain way because of it. So it mainly dictates our reactive behaviors to when things go wrong, especially. There are 4 main attachment styles, and they are secure, anxious, dismissive, and fearful. 3 of these attachment styles are insecure attachment styles, and secure, the 4th one, is the secure one. That's the one where people act positively. I will explain how these actually come about. In childhood, when our parents act towards us in a certain way, it develops our attachment styles. So if our parents are inconsistent and they're loving sometimes, but sometimes they're distant, we develop an anxious attachment style because we're not really sure. There isn't consistency. So the anxious attachment style is actually a style where the person constantly reaches out and constantly wants to connect with other people and is scared, obviously anxious, that they will get disconnected from these people. So sometimes they even use manipulation or any type of fighting, just fighting for it, continuously moving towards and putting their own self onto others, sometimes even pushing boundaries. Clearly, this is not good. On the other side of this pole is the dismissive avoidant attachment style. This is when a child has to face a lot of trauma, a lot of pain from their parents, a lot of expectations, a lot of criticism, and it really makes these people retreat into themselves. It makes them pull away. It makes them take a lot of space just to process their pain and their emotions. And their emotions become a lot, even as they carry themselves throughout life. If somebody's trying to move closer to them, if somebody is trying to create connection, it scares them, they back away, they become emotionally unavailable. I'm sure you know somebody like that in your life. I'm sure you also know somebody who pushes boundaries, like an anxious person. These are the 2 opposite sides of the pole. One retreats way too much, and one pushes onto other people. And right in the middle, you would think, is where the balance is, right? You would think that's where secure attachment style is, not to be too far and not to be too close to someone. But actually, in the middle is the fearful avoidant attachment style. And these are people who have been given both inconsistency from their parents and a lot of pain from their parents as well. A lot of criticism and just traumatic events or things like that. I won't go into too much detail. You can look into psychology to study these more. But the fearful avoidance, they go back and forth. They're sometimes way too anxious, and they're sometimes avoidant, and sometimes at the same time, and it's very confusing. Like, this is one of the attachment styles where somebody is hurt the most. So what's interesting about these three insecure attachment styles is that they are all avoidant attachment styles. Usually the anxious attachment style is not called avoidant, it's usually called anxious preoccupied. But I have been watching and reading about this, and I discovered that some researchers actually consider this avoidant style as well, and this makes a lot more sense to me. All three of these insecure attachment styles are avoidant. The anxious person actually avoids caring for themselves. They put way too much attention on the other person who they're trying to love, who they're trying to attract, or they're trying to mend things with. So the dismissive avoidant always chooses what's best for them. They put themselves over other people. Usually this is considered selfish, right? And not to be mean to them because they have faced a lot of trauma, but they tend to be very individualistic. Like, they are the most important people because they have had to learn to protect themselves. The fearful avoidant goes back and forth between I'm important, no, they're important, I'm important, no, they're important, I don't know what to do, I'm slipping back and forth. The anxious person, the anxious avoidant person, puts the other person first. What can I do for them? How can I help them feel better? How can I study their problems and fix their problems rather than looking at their inner selves and saying, there's something wrong with me for wanting to always help someone else and not help myself first. And that's a big key thing. That is them avoiding themselves. The balance here is actually not even on this spectrum. You can't find it between too much of the other person or too much of yourself. It's actually retreating and understanding that the balance comes when you are one, when you combine the unconditional love for yourself and the unconditional love for the other, you hold them as equally important. So you can love someone else while loving yourself. You can love yourself while loving another. And this is the secure attachment. Secure attachment people have been giving love consistently from their parents when they were younger. Their parents would be there for them if they're ever in trouble. Their parents would not overparent them, over criticize them. They would give them their own space to do their own activities that they love. And overall, this is a childhood that does not have that much trauma, and the person can move throughout life trusting that even if I lose someone, we will mend things, or I will find another person who is better for me, who we can mutually share our love with. So this is very similar to the pendulum video I made, and I'll put it right here. That's why I recognize that this is actually quite spiritual philosophy if you look at it. And why is this spiritual philosophy? Because when we are younger, our parents are our gods. We don't know anything above them. They are who dictate our environment. They are the people who create the space that we have to grow into, we have to adapt into, and they are basically all-encompassing and all-knowing when we are kids, when we're young kids. When we grow older, into our late teens, into our early 20s, we start realizing my parents are actually here more for advice and more for friendship because they've given me what their duty was to give me, shelter and food, and now it's my own duty to carry on these things and build them for myself. And so our parents stop becoming these all-knowing gods, these omniscient beings in our life that can provide us with anything. We start seeing our parents' own insecurities and their faults, and we have to learn to love them for that. But for the insecure attachment styles when they're younger, they didn't know that their parents have insecurities. They're imperfect people, right? All they knew was that their parents are who they are. And they start believing later in life that God is also this way to them. There's actually a painting that I want to reference here. It's Alex Gray's painting. It shows like this head that goes upward. This was actually a download I had when I was high one time, that God is our parent. I actually saw this in some Christian articles I was coming across when I searched this up on Google because I was like, that is quite an interesting thing, you know? God as our parent, because we no longer have parents. Like, who can we even rely on when we become adults as we grow up? The lesson is, once we understand our attachment style, once we face our traumas and really look deep within ourselves, what is it that I have to work on? Do I have to work on loving someone else and bringing their own problems on an equal level to mine, something that dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance can work on? Or do I have to love myself more and understand that another person is doing what's best for them and I have to let them go and do it? I can't do it for them. I can be here, I can retreat to myself and stay where I am and just trust. This is something that fearful avoidance and anxious avoidance can work on. And by working on these things, by being aware and retreating and observing our tendencies, our reactions, our trauma bonds to other people, by actually reading up on attachment style theory, which I highly recommend you do. I'm not a licensed psychologist or anything, it's just my, part-time interest. I read about it a lot, but you should definitely study attachment theory for yourself. I recommend this one YouTube channel called Personal Development School by Thais Gibson. I'll put the words right here so you can search it up in YouTube. Oh my god, her content is so resourceful and so informative. I've been binging it for the past few days. It's insane. So we have to learn to actually be secure. Secure attachment is pure faith, pure trust. Of course, we're not completely pure, we're not completely perfect, but we can move towards that. We can always know what is perfect and walk towards it. When we feel ourselves moving away from it, we can always be aware and then walk back towards it. Perfection is there for a reason. It's there for us to know what God is. Perfection is literally equivalent to God. So our journey is to become more like God, to become more like our parent. So as our childhood programming makes little blips into our reactions, into our trauma styles, these little points, these little events, they start bubbling up and they become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. They become like this giant part of our being, of our personality and how we react to others. And reprogramming this is taking each of these events away, realizing that it wasn't my parents' fault. It wasn't my fault. It was nobody's fault. There was just imperfection happening. There was true human mistakes going on during my childhood, and I don't have to blame anyone for that. I can just be grateful that I was there to experience these hardships and to learn and grow from them. And this is how you take away these pieces of this large circle, and the circle reduces and it becomes less of our personality, of our core selves. How can we actually take away these events and these memories, these painful traumas of ours? I have six ways that you can do it. And the first one is to study what the ego is and to actually love it for its job. Yes, I don't think most people talk about this. We actually need to love the ego. The ego is with us because it has a job to do. It functions in a way that helps us survive, helps us manipulate the world for our benefit so we can become more powerful, get all our nutrients, move through the world, find success. But it also messes with our mind and it keeps trauma stored. It doesn't allow that trauma to fade away. The ego holds on to painful memories the strongest. So that's one way we can study the ego and we can love it for doing its job. Secondly, we can remind ourselves of our loving and trusting nature. We are inherently love, capital L love. Our core selves, stored within our heart center, is our God self, our soul. This is who we were born as into the world. As children, we were loving and trusting naturally. We were only taught through negative programming that others can't be trusted, that others' reactions give us pain, and that it's dangerous to do certain activities in the world, or, that there's scarcity in the world. All these negative programming things. There's two books I can recommend to you. One is based on the other, so if you don't like too dense content, you can go for A Return to Love, and it is based on the book A Course in Miracles. I'm currently reading A Return to Love. I highly recommend it. It rings so true, just to the deepest of yourself. Don't forget, you are pure love, and your true nature is to trust and love others unconditionally, and to trust and love yourself unconditionally in a balanced way. Third, I already mentioned this earlier, but you can work on creating a secure attachment style. And there's plenty of resources for you to do this. Please check them out. There will be psychological resources actually rather than spiritual, but psychology and spirituality are so deeply intertwined. Sometimes the line between them is so thin, but they are both topics that help us become our better selves and understand the world, right? So why not go out and really study those resources and hone in on your secure attachment style? I promise you it'll help you so much in your relationships. Number 4, create an abundance mindset. So like I said, with our loving nature, our true inherent nature, we know that there is an abundance in this world, and programming as we grow up is what makes us believe in scarcity. But there is truly enough for everyone. We can share as well as be successful and have plenty for ourselves and give plenty to others. The more we give, the more we receive. That's another thing, and if you want me to make a video about that, I definitely will. Just leave it down in the comments. I'm actually working on this myself, so it would be great for me to make a video on it. It would help me too. Number 5, breathe through the pain. Be present in the pain when it comes up. Know that there is a purpose to it. I wrote an article about this actually. I'll also put that in the description. That painful experiences are here for us to learn and evolve, spiritually evolve from them. This is like one of the hardest things to say or to encourage another person. Like, you can't go up to somebody who's grieving someone's death or a breakup and say, come on, this was just supposed to teach you something, you know, like get up and be okay with it. No, like when you're actually in the midst of the pain, you have to breathe. Go into your prana. There's a yogic practice of pranayama, and that teaches us that breath, controlling our breath, is returning to our essence. Our breath is up and down. It's always balanced. There is like in and out, up and down, black and white, all the time, all the time. Our breath really represents that. It shows us the yin yang constantly, constantly, constantly moving within us. And that's where we find that balance. Because when two come together, they're still two, and yet they are also one. That contradiction is what makes them one. And the 6th one, be grateful. Always be grateful for how much you have. This ties into being present. It also ties into your loving nature. It also ties into having an abundance mindset. So all these 6 ways that I'm mentioning are interconnected. I'm just looking at my dog. She looks so cute. My dog gives me so much love all the time. Look at her. Nudie. Gratitude is actually a major superpower. It powers us through our toughest times. It makes us a more loving person, a more trusting person. I'm sorry I'm repeating, but these are literally what it transforms us into. We become a greater being and more aligned and in tune with our higher self that knows that our life, whatever's happening in it, is for our best. And being grateful for whatever is happening, the good or the bad, allows us to know that this is the truth. The higher self does always want the best for us. I've made 2 videos on gratitude. I'll link one right here for you. And Nuri is here to play, and it looks like she came at the perfect time because our video is done. Leave it. Leave it. She doesn't want to leave the ball. So she's holding it and she still wants me to play. Leave it. Leave it. Oh my God. We're gonna have to exercise her after this. It's time for her to play fetch. Her evening routine. So guys, Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. I feel like another YouTuber has said that. That's so cliche. I need to make up my own line to say. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And please be sure to subscribe if you have not already. Like this video if it was informative or made you expand your mind and your awareness of this world. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Mwah. I love you.